Alrighty, guys, welcome to Tuesday, January 14th. Um, Closed out on a pretty darn strong note yesterday. Nothing but surprising, to be honest with you, given the weakness we had going into yesterday's trading. So that was a pretty strong close. So we started off way weak here, and then they just grinded this up, and we had a little pop to the upside. Overnight has been even stronger than that. Not quite at the level where we're getting up above that 5,900 level, but it's still pretty impressive. We'll see if they can hold on to this, or if this is just a little bargain hunt rally or something like that. It's going to be anyone's guess where they go today. So a little bit of confusing trading, I had to say. This morning, though, we get some news. We have PPI coming out at 8:30 this morning, and we already got that small business optimism index. And this read is way better. It's a massively improved read on that optimism index. So consensus was 101, it was 105, so people are feeling pretty good. PPI coming out at 8:30. We'll see what that read is going to be like. I believe, yes, last read was a little bit to the upside, a little bit harder than expected. We'll see if inflation seems to be going higher still. Well, the market could react differently on it. It could be a positive or negative reaction. It's going to be anyone's guess how they react to the number, if it's good or bad. I would tend to think that the good news is a slower, low inflation number would be a positive, and that would be the gut reaction to it. But sometimes good news is bad news, and sometimes it's vice versa. So I'm going to leave that until let's watch the reaction. We have a speaker at 10, speaker at 3, but that's about it. So PPI is on the news we get today at 8:30. So diving into this, let me see, get over here. All right, so diving into this at this point, I would start off range bound. As I said yesterday, we were trading around this area of resistance. Right now, we've been up here testing that upper area of this range, 5,900 to 5,905. They backed off that pretty good, so could not get up above that. And then they were heading back to right to this attractor point at the 58.65s again. So I would start off range bound. Maybe it's looking for early strength to see if they can actually take this higher or not. PPI number obviously is going to be important. It's going to potentially change things pretty drastically. So we'll see if that becomes a newsday reaction or not. Usually PPI at this point in the game, and I don't think there's going to be that big of a reaction directionally, I think. But I could be wrong. It's just we just have to watch and see it. If the reaction is volatile but not directional, let's fall back on the analysis, which is range bound. Looking to sell strength up to that 59.10 to 12. Looking to buy weakness down to the, I would say down to this 58.20 level. And below 58.20, if it starts extending past this areas of support, see that little area of support between 58.10 and 58.20. If that area comes out, I think we are better off, and we may head down to that 57 level at that point. So we'll see. At this point, the ES is in a good 600-point retracement would be almost the 10%. So it's pretty darn close to a 10% pullback so far. But I would start off range bound. I think the overall bias is to the downside given the capital flow. This move out of the middle, it looks exactly like that. Looks like cut off the selling though at yesterday. I think we'll see if they extend to the downside today. Then yeah, they're going to be keep going. But at this point, this move out of the middle is definitely to the downside. And so capital flow is pointed lower. The exchange member chart, the F2 chart, is pretty range bound given the strength of yesterday. So that's why I'm starting off range bound. I would favor the short side still. I would favor selling strength for rotations back down, just given that F1 dynamic. But if we could just end up sitting in the range here, going back and forth. So if this starts trading above that 59.10 to 12, up against the 59.20, I think you can see here how these retests on the way down here. These retests, if they start taking out that 59.20, it could be in a nice spot to retrace up in this upper range. But if the resistance holds at 59.10 and 59.20, I think we are just heading, it's going to be rotating back to the 58.65 level. So at this point, we're still looking for early strength and see if they can retest these highs, potentially take it higher. If they back off the 58.80s, I'll take off that early strength, the long bias, and just go back range bound, or stop looking for early strength at that point. And if they trade down towards the lower edges here, the 58, do you see here 58.10 to 58.20? This is the support area. If that comes out, bets are off. We are heading lower at that point. So a pretty wide range, 58.20 to 5900 point range to deal with. And then we just kind of had to see how they're going to trade this. So look for rotations back to that 58.65. That's your attractor right now. That's the center part of that range. Fade the edges, and here capital flow to give you perspective. Here's the attractor 58.65. And so looking to sell up to that 59.10 to 20. Looking to buy down to the 58.10 to 20. So 100 point range we're trading in. And chances are we may be down here at one point to test the lows. I mean, I'm not sure quite they're done in a little sell-off. Sometimes you get throughout the little sell-off, little burst of buying like this. It just fakes you out and think that you may have an opportunity to get long against it, but they'll catch you and then drive you right back down again. So you're gonna let the capital flow guide us in the bigger picture. So I'm looking for early strength to look for rotations back down, but on the F2 we start off trading at range bound until we see some further weakness. Now I would probably say that on the F2 chart here, if they take out the 58.80, I would take off any long bias. But you can see we may have some nice short trades here, trading from the 58.80 down to the 65s, and from the 65 down to the 45s. There are 20-point jumps here on the way down, so it could be a nice move to the downside. So I would not be shy of trying to hop on the short side early on if they start retracing. That could just as well be a nice start of a move all the way down here to test the very lows. So it could be a nice short trade in there. But at this point, as long as the 58.80 holds and trade above it, I would look for that early strength to see if they can retest the highs. All right. Looking at the NASDAQ and the bonds. So the bond market did not extend to the downside in overnight. They've been holding in this range, going sideways. Watch the lower edge at 110.26. They've been grinding this lower step at a time in orderly fashion. You see here the days at a little bit lower, and sometimes you get a bigger step lower. Overall, yields are going higher, prices are going lower, and I'm not sure they're done yet. So we'll see what kind of inflation expectations we get. I think most of this, I believe, is related to inflation expectations on the bond market. So if that, depending on how the PPI number comes out, if it comes out with a lower than expected number, we may see the bond market rally and yield starts popping down again. It could be an interesting dynamic in there. But I would trade bonds on the short side, looking to sell strength against the mode here at the 111. 11.10, 11.15, 16 for rotations back down again. That's the way I would look at it. NASDAQ, also a pretty good pop to the upside, a little bit weaker than the ES. I've taken out support here at the 2100s, down to the 20,965s now, 965. So 21,000. So 21,000, 20,965 is the lower edge, and I'm borderline taking off the long bias on that. This is backing off pretty good here from the upper levels. And NASA, as you can see, is a lot more range on it, a lot more volatility, a lot more range. They're gonna have to trade up above that 21,170 area, this area of resistance. So far, they got up to it, but not quite past it, so they are right back down again. Attractor down here is at the 2800s. And the lower edge of the support starts happening here at the 20,630. That's where you start getting support all the way down here to the 2580s. And this attractor here at the 630, if that comes out, they start blowing through that one. We may find ourselves down in this lower range here. Remember that this area down here at the 20,000 could very well be tested again. So that would be a good 10% pullback on the Nasdaq. So Nasdaq hasn't quite pulled back 10%. They're a little bit less than that. Even if it feels like it's freaking just falling out of bed almost. So, so there we have it. I would look for we have borderline here on support, right? So I'm looking for still for early strength, but if they trade below that 960, that's a done deal, and we're looking for rotations back here towards the 800 attractor. So, and again, if they start taking out that 965s, it could be nice short trades to pop you back into these support areas. Just be mindful you don't sell into support. That's usually the trap you fall into if you don't pay attention. You buy into resistance, you sell into support, and that just gets you caught right away. So try to wait for them to break below a support resistance area and before you get engaged. But it could be anyone's guess where they're going to go today. We watch the PPI and then let's see where they're going to go from there, how they digest that news. I'm starting off range bound, so if for some reason they trade up above the 130, 170 here, we could lean in on the long side, and below that 630 to 650. So taking out this support area, I think we are heading lower at that point. So, but at this point, looks to me like we had a pretty good bounce yesterday. Same on the ES. It could be very much a fake out. So I'm still thinking short side, given the capital flow is pointed lower, and let's see how far they can take it on the downside. All right. So that's where we have it. So that's the Nasdaq to get started. Looking for early strength, but we are right there where we may see some further weakness. Look at that, been net selling here all morning. So I think that may continue unless the PPI changes the dynamic. Finally, oil and gold. So gold is right back towards the attractor here at the 2670s. That reverse retesting support at the 75. And we'll see if they can trade this lower, but yeah, I think they're pretty much back to value. So unless they start taking out the 93, 94s with a bit of energy, start retracing the single print Ws on the way down from yesterday, I would be just starting off range bound, looking for a bias to the downside, or not the bias, but looking for a retracement back to that 2670. Maybe even lower. So nice pop. You can see I had that pop really hard, took out that upper area resistance just to turn around and then go right back to value. So that's trading for you. So that's a pretty good move, and I'm thinking they'd be start trading around this 2670 level. And just be mindful to start taking out that 95 level. We may see them retrace to the upside again. So that's the goal to get started this morning. And finally, oil also trading up here, staying around the $79, $80 level. And that's just courtesy. Thank you, outgoing administration, for mucking up the oil market on the way out. That's I'm just going to say that. So. And we'll see where they're going to go. At this point, they're still pointed higher, but I would expect oil to crash down pretty hard, given that once they change things around, they're going to get starting next week. Don't know if the market's going to react that fast, but as the policy changes occur, that's going to change. So this move out of the middle, I don't think it's going to keep going. They're running into that $80 low volume area, and at one point here, there's going to be a retracement going on oil. But until that happens, as trading from the long side, watch the retracements. They start trading below that 77.40s. Just go back to stop trading it from the long side. I would look to buy against the 78s, 77.75, and the 77.40s for rotations back up, and that's about it. And if they start taking out that 77.40s, just to take off that long bias and look for potential retracement trades at that point. On the way up, shorts against 79.20 with a bit of caution, or 79.75 and the 79.20s with a little bit of caution. We'll see how far they can take it, if they can take out resistance and trade higher at this point. But they're right up against an upper area of resistance, which is pretty good. So we'll see how far it can take it. But anyway, so oil, I'm kind of staying away from oil until it kind of settles in, or I see some. I'm looking for maybe a big trading day and when things start changing. But at this point, as they're trading higher, it just gets me cautious about hopping on the long side, you know. But anyway, at this point, still trading from the long side until they take out that 77.40 level, and at that point, take off that long bias. Alrighty, back to the ES, and we have about 10 minutes before you get news. So get some coffee and get ready. Looks like the ES and Nasdaq is still just pushing the lows here. We'll see. As I said, they take out the 80, 82s, take off the long bias and start looking for more retracement back to 65 at that point. Alrighty, we'll leave it there, guys. I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. So good trading, and I'll see you back there. Good trading. Got spell caps lock on as well. Anyway, I'll see you back at 11:30.